All right, folks. Let's now go to New York, where day 4 of the R. Kelly trial took place today with explosive testimony from a woman who claims that she was sexually abused by R. Kelly when she was 17 years old. This is, again, day 4 of the trial of the R&B singer. And like last week, testimony have been nothing short of shocking. One of Kelly's former girlfriends, Azriel Clary, testified the singer knowingly passed on a sexually transmitted disease to her, adding the artist promised fame in exchange for sexual favors. However, Kelly's lawyers have labeled the accusers groupies who want to take advantage of his fame and fortune. Now, Kelly is found guilty. He will be sentenced to life in prison. Joining me now to discuss this is Oronike Odeleye, a co-founder of hashtag Meet R. Kelly. Hope I pronounced that correct.
You were pretty close. It's Oronike Odeleye.
Gotcha. Oronike Odeleye. Okay, got it. So, Oronike, let's talk about what we're seeing now. First off, we're actually seeing, for the first time, women who were sexually assaulted by R. Kelly when they were underage. That is not what we experienced in his first trial when he was acquitted in Chicago.
Yeah, I think now, with all of the progress that we've made as a society, as a culture, and as a community, women now feel safer and more emboldened to show their face and stay in front of the world what happened to them. I think back during his first trial, we weren't in a place where those young women and their families felt that they could do that and be safe and move forward from it with their lives, and so made choices to not come forward. But now, luckily, we're in a different space. And so these women feel like they can do that. And we're super proud and supportive of them because it's really important that they do. This doesn't stop unless we have a space for women to stand up and say what happened to them and speak their truth and be heard and be listened to and their claims be taken seriously. So we're really happy to see this.
This is just one trial. He also is facing prosecutors in 2 other states as well. It is clear that federal prosecutors are clearly looking at R. Kelly and want to make sure that he does not have another free day in this society.
Yeah, I mean, this evidence has been out here in the public for decades at this point. I mean, we all had it. DeAndre on the block had this evidence. We all have seen, heard, know someone who has experienced R. Kelly's perversity and his crimes against these young women. So none of this is really, really new. I think at this point, they really are gathering up all of the chords of history that's out there to really, really throw the book at him. But it's so long overdue. We knew what was happening literally 30 years ago. It's taken that long for us to get to the point where prosecutors are going to take these women seriously. The community is taking these women seriously. And people feel like that, enough is enough. I don't know why it's taken us this long, because we really didn't need all of the carts and carts and carts of evidence that they brought in on the first day of trial. We knew from the videotape forever ago what this man was doing to young women. I can't see how he can maneuver out of this, but stranger things have happened, so we're keeping a close eye on it.
The thing here that I think is really, really important as well is that the crumbling of the infrastructure around R. Kelly. Some would say because the money ran out. Prosecutors have been helped because the women, again, like Azriel, one of the women who was fiercely defending him, they actually then began to turn on him. So now you have first-hand accounts from people who were inside of R. Kelly's circles now testifying against him.
Yeah, a big part of that absolutely is the money running out, which is why Meet R. Kelly was a call for a financial boycott of the singer. We've known forever that it was the money that insulated him from the consequences of his crime. It was the money that allowed him to pay off families. It was the money that allowed him to pay off victims. It was the money that allowed the record companies to feel that they needed to continue to hide what he was doing and clean up after him. It was the money that was hiring the bodyguards that were guarding these women. You know, I mean, it's always been the money that has kept him from consequences. And so we called for people to stop financially supporting him so that that wall could come down between him and justice. And when the money goes, people are less inclined to hide your secrets. They're less inclined to, you know, try to take up for you out here because they no longer have a financial incentive. So you're seeing, you know, managers and road managers and people who work with him now will come forward because he's no longer the cash cow. And so now they've got to think about saving their own butts, and they're going to, you know, spill the beans in court to do that.
I want to pull in Toran and Avis as well. I mean, this is to the point that Oronike makes there. Avis, it was absolutely vital to go after the money. The reality is there were stations that continued to play his music. There were individuals that continued to book him. I remember when he was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show cruise. And it was very, I mean, I remember being at that cruise going, R. Kelly's performing? Really? Who approved that? And there were a lot of people who made excuses because the reality is R. Kelly was still a hit maker.
That's exactly right. I mean, you know, this is no secret. Absolutely correct to say that his abusive behavior has been known literally for decades. And there has been several like investigative reports. You know, you would have to have your head in the sand not to know what was going on with R. Kelly and what had been going on with R. Kelly since the days of Aaliyah. Okay. And so what it has shown to me, though, when I think about it over the years, because I was one of the people, even in those times, like you, asking in a variety of this situations, we still giving this man legitimacy? What does that say about how much we value, or shall I say devalue, Black girls? You know, if he was targeting white girls in the way that he was a serial abuser to Black girls, would have had all of these decades of freedom? And why is it that the Black community for so many years seemed to give him a pass? Because they kind of like the music that he was coming out with. It is both the money, but it's also, for some reason, a community response that still seem to, on the one hand, still reward him by still going to his concerts, by still buying his music, by still sort of shaking their butts to his latest hit, and at the same time making excuses, as well as victim blaming the young women that he himself were targeting, going to schools, getting girls leaving school. You know, come on now. We've known this for decades. So I would just have to say, it is about time that the chickens came home to roost. Yes, I agree that the money needed to be cut off in order for people to come out of the woodworks who had been protecting him in the past because they knew that they were getting some money on the back end. But it's unfortunate that the money had to be come off for people to finally live up to some sense of morality.
Toran, it was the pressure led by a number of Black women that created the critical mass to get to the point we're at with this trial in Brooklyn.
Well, you know, there's a saying that people's morality only goes as far as their pocketbook, and I think it's a wonderful thing that what you're seeing with the situation with R. Kelly's finally coming to pass, and you're starting to see some things come to fruition. But something I want to point out is that even though what R. Kelly's accused of and these crimes are disgusting, he's just one example of something that's very prevalent in entertainment. The entertainment business can be a very ugly place. It can be a very, very predatorial place. It can be very dangerous for women, especially Black women, and for men to a degree. But because so many people who are so guilty of a lot of these crimes are insulated, like the other two ladies said, by power structures and by record labels, and by a whole infrastructure that basically shields them from any responsibility for the things they do, that it's very rare for a situation like this to get to this point. I think what happened with Harvey Weinstein kind of like opened a lot of doors, and it kind of knocked down some walls about like what you can do and how far power can go in the entertainment business if you are, like, say, a celebrity and you have people who are willing to cover for you. But we live in an age now where a lot of the things that we heard about in the 60s and 70s with like rock bands and like with punk rock bands and even country stars and this sort of thing, you didn't have the fast moving infrastructure and the fast moving social media that got these stories out into the public like you do now. So what you're seeing is immediate results, even though in this case it took decades to happen. A lot of these stories no longer are hidden behind the scenes until somebody writes a book 20 years later. So what you're seeing is a little bit more of a faster response to these things than you would in the past. But make no mistake, R. Kelly is just one example of a very prevalent thing that happens in entertainment. And there's people in the industry who are doing the exact same things, most likely. They're just not known just yet.
Oronike, final comment, please.
I would absolutely agree. The entertainment industry is rife with these type of problems. And I think that we always have to remember, at the end of the day, we have more power than the structures that we are supporting. Like, these structures only exist because we put our money into them. You know, and record companies can't exist without our streams, without our sales, without us going to concerts. And so I think that even if they don't have a financial incentive to do the right thing and to impose some level of morality on their artists, we have a responsibility to do that. We have a responsibility to call them out. We have a responsibility to say, we're not going to support these artists and we're not going to support your label if you are funding abusers, rapists, murderers, all the kinds of things that the record companies are willing to overlook for profit. We have to step up and say, we're not going to stand for it. I think part of the victory of R. Kelly getting to this point is that it took all of us standing up to all these structures of power and saying, no, actually, we have the power and we have decided enough is enough. And I think we have to continue to do that so that they know the minute they see these type of issues, they got to start pulling some coattails and not let this be a 10, 15, 20, 30-year problem that just goes on and on forever. It's something that they nip in the bud from the jump. I think we have to remember always that we are the ones with the power and we can say that we're not going to stand for it.
All right, Oronike, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for all your great work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, back to that Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Ceek.com is founded by Mary Spio, a sister. It is a virtual reality company where they have content on their site. Again, Ceek.com. They also have their products. They have the 360-degree headphones. These headsets are amazing. Tremendous bass. You can use these headsets for gaming as well. Plus, they have their virtual reality headsets where you place your cell phone into the device to allow you to see that VR content, but also 360-degree video. If you want to get that headphone, get those headphones or the VR headset, all you got to do is use this promo code RMVIP21, RMVIP21. Go to Ceek.com to get their products. When you support them, you support us because a portion of the proceeds come back to us at Roland Martin Unfiltered.